Good to see everyone. Thank you for joining us for a sold out edition of Zoom into Wine. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. This is your program, and we're very excited to share this effort with you. We have a nice team here back at Merchant of Wine, and I Learn About Wine team gets involved in this as well. And we really enjoyed this effort. The wines are going to be special. And the fact that a couple of years after the pandemic, can still get over 50 people on a Zoom is pretty nice to pull off, and makes us feel pretty good about what we're doing here. So thank you for supporting. We truly hope you enjoy the program. During the program, you will have an email coming into your inbox. There's probably a discount code on that email. If you don't see that, or maybe it's already been delivered, but there'll be a thank you email. And we're going to list all of our Brunello de Montalcino on there that are available, because quite frankly, this program sold out some of the wines that we're going to be drinking tonight. We probably didn't expect to have 50 plus people on this Zoom, but I'm glad to see it. And we had enough wine to do the Zoom, but some of them, if you want to purchase additional wine, you may want to purchase the new vintage or look at some of the other offerings that we have, but your discount code will work on all of them and any wine on the website for that means tonight. So my name is Ian Blackburn, and we started Zoom into Wine out of necessity. Our Learn About Wine business was closed down for the pandemic. We opened up a retail store called merchantofwine.com. And, when you're a wine shop online, the only way people are going to find out about you is if you do something special. And that's where these programs came from. And we continue to Zoom every Wednesday night and have a really nice lineup of activities. Top wines are being shown. We don't want to waste your time. And I love interviewing amazing winemakers from all over the world, and we do a lot of that as well. And tonight's program is really special. So let's get into it. I'm going to share with you our slideshow and talk just for a minute about the region. And before I go over there, have any of you been to Tuscany and or the region known as Brunello de Montalcino? Show of hands there. All right, cool. We take groups on trips and have some fun doing that. And recently went to Tuscany, Brunello de Montalcino. I saw some of the producers were interviewing tonight. Some of them just are great people that have come to see me here in my offices, where we buy the wine for Merchant of Wine. But let's just talk about the category if we could for a second. We're in Montalcino. This is a town, if you flew into Tuscany, you might be flying into the Florence airport, and Montalcino is a good hour and a half, 2 hours away, depending on how many speeding tickets you want to get in the mail. I found out the hard way, you do get those speeding tickets in the mail, by the way. And if you rent a car, I think there's like some sort of homing device on your car. It says, there's a rental car. That guy doesn't have a chance of fighting these speeding tickets. Send him as many as you like, because man, did I get a lot of speeding tickets. It was not pretty. And I'm a guy who's, probably doesn't have a speeding ticket or an accident on my record that's my fault. So it was a shocker. But anyway, back to the event here. Montalcino, a little ways away from Florence, driving through Chianti. Montalcino is right next to Montepulciano. And I often talk about, the value of real estate, kind of comparing Montepulciano to like a really nice part of Culver City. And Montalcino is a little bit more like Bel Air. And that's why the wine price points are a little separated. You can make some great wines in Montepulciano, but the best in the business are in Montalcino, and they are there to win it and they want to make some of the best wines. There's been a lot of economic forces at work in Montalcino over the past 30 years. This region has really caught the interest of a lot of big investment, even hedge funds, noticing that Brunello de Montalcino as a category maintains the highest average price point of any wine in the world, any wine category in the world. You might think, oh, Bordeaux is really an expensive wine. Well, actually, Bordeaux makes a lot of $4 or $5 bottles of wine. So their average bottle in Bordeaux is somewhere around $7 to $8, believe it or not, by volume. Whereas the average bottle of Brunello is over $40 and nothing's even close. So it really is a place that the investment banks are looking at. They see a bright future there. The demand for the wines is huge. And there are some very large and very successful producers there. The 1960s saw the DOC and DOCG denominations achieved, and there were also some nice guiding rules that were created. Some of those rules have actually changed just a little bit. To be considered a Brunello, okay, not all the wines that we're going to taste tonight are Brunellos, but they are in the Montalcino category, and we're going to use those to explain the category a little bit in a moment. But Brunello means 4 years, minimum 4 years at the winery, including 2 years in barrel and 4 months in bottle as minimums. And it's from January 1 of the vintage. So that means basically 5 years is when we'll see them. And so right now, 2024, the 19s may be on their way to America at this point. I think most people are in the 18s and probably have some 18s to sell. So that's where I think we're at. Reserva, minimum 5 years, including 2 years in barrel and 6 months in bottle. And so we're going to taste a Reserva tonight as well. And that just has a little bit longer aging requirement. And back in the old days, they used to require these wines to spend 4 and 5 years in wood, and the wines just weren't making it. So they adjusted that wood requirement to minimize the wood requirement. Some wineries do go 3 years, some go even longer, but they are often now putting the wine in concrete or into the bottle with a longer period of time to hit that aging requirement minimum. Our first wine is number one is Casanova de Neri, and we're going to go right into it. Let's get some of that wine in the glass. And cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I hope you guys enjoy the program. And take a note of the region of Montalcino. You can see the map here on the left-hand side. There are 7 vineyard sites that Casanova de Neri owns. And you can see again to the map on the right, that's another look at Tuscany with all of the different wine names darting it. They make a lot more wine in Italy than there are people. They make a lot of these wines for the export market. This is one of the most successful brands in Brunello de Montalcino. And I had a great pleasure of interviewing the family. So let's go right into it. Of Brunello de Montalcino allow us to interview, to get to know some of the great producers in the region of Montalcino, the area of Montalcino instead of Tuscany. And we couldn't be more honored than to get started with Casanova de Neri. And Gian Lorenzo Neri is on the Zoom with us. He is a family member and in charge of the business at Casanova de Neri. Gian Lorenzo, pleasure to be able to Zoom with you. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Ian, for organizing this very entertaining lecture of Montalcino. I like a lot the title Heroes of Montalcino.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I have had the great pleasure of visiting you and your father, your establishment there in Montalcino. Casanova di Neri is highly decorated. We carry a number of different wines from your family. But honestly, this last year, I decided to offer the Il Rosso, and it has been a smashing success. It's a great wine at a great price, and we'd love to learn a little bit more about your history, and then we'll talk about the wine.
Yes. So Ian, I guess when you mentioned the name Casanova di Neri, everyone is thinking about our Brunellos, and that's right, because over our 53 years of history, we've been looking at the very best terroirs in Montalcino in terms of soils, exposure, microclimates. And that is why over 3 generations, over 53 years of history, we now have 7 different spots in Montalcino. And the reason why we are using 4 different Brunellos, because we talk about 100% Sangiovese, Montalcino, Casanova di Neri, but 4 completely different expression of Brunello, because each of them is planted in a very, very different terroir. So we have, for example, the property called Fiesole in the northeast of Montalcino. That was the beginning of the Casanova farmhouse that our grandfather bought in 1971. So it was the beginning with the production of the Brunello, today called the White Label, 1978 first vintage. And then just a few years later, the second Brunello came with the name of Ceretalto. Ceretalto is the toponym of this beautiful natural amphitheater, as you see at the very border of the appellation area, with a very particular microclimate, with a type of soil that in all Montalcino you can only find in Ceretalto. So it's really, really a unique spot. Then the third Brunello came with the arrival of our father at the winery 35 years ago, especially when, unfortunately, our grandfather passed away in 1991. His idea was to produce another different but also great expression of Più Sangiovese from Casanova di Neri, and started this project of vineyard from the scratch. He bought the property called Cetine, as you see in the south area of Montalcino, from a shepherd. So there was nothing on this land. Planted the vines from scratch, from zero, at the end of the 80s, and showing this new idea of Brunello of Casanova di Neri that was in fact called Tenuta Nuova. You know, Tenuta Nuova in Italian means new land, new estate, but also a new vineyard project of Sangiovese, also of Casanova di Neri. Today, after more than 30 years, this Brunello is a traditional wine from the estate, but also overall of the appellation. Is one of the benchmark for the appellation, and not only. And only last year, we released a 4th Brunello with the 2018 vintage. This Brunello is being dedicated to our grandfather. So you see the name Giovanni Neri. We talk about a 50 years old vineyard in the southeast of Montalcino that we purchased a few years ago, right in 2018. Great vines over half a century of age. Again, a great microclimate, great exposure. When we purchased this property, we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the winery, and that's why the grandfather dedication. So we produce incredible Brunello, also a nice production of small production of Rosso di Montalcino from there. So we really, today we have, you know, we never had a very precise marketing, if not by having one of the best vineyards of Montalcino. It's truly, the way our Brunellos are showing is because they truly come from unique pieces of land. And then, of course, our knowledge, our winemaking is still important, but it counts for 30%. 70% is really the quality of the Sangiovese we are having from unique spots from Montalcino.
Well, your facility is remarkable to visit, and you see the state-of-the-art investment that you guys have made in the quality of the production facility. It's a beautiful location. I think you also have now a place where guests can stay as well, a little agriturismo maybe. And
a little boutique hotel, 500 meters from the cellar. So if people want to really have 100% the Casanova di Neri experience, you can also sleep, eat, and drink as much as you want, I guess.
That sounds great. Sounds great. Well, amazing history. Grandfather obviously left a great legacy, and your family has not only risen to the occasion, but potentially you could argue your brand is at the top, at the forefront of the wines being made in the appellation, the popularity, the scores, and the quality year after year has been really tremendous. And congratulations to you all. A couple of pictures to kind of get you in there. What are we looking at there?
This is the Casanova farmhouse, so the property called Fiesole. That's where we have our tasting room, the hospitality, and 100 meters away we have the cellar, which is underground gravity flow. So from the outside, it's not you cannot see very easily, but that's because we want it, because it's really well integrated on the environment, and it is a sustainable cellar because the use, we try to minimize the use of pumps because we are going gravity flow, and most of the places inside the cellar are naturally cooled. So there's a little use of energy. So we've been sustainable. Sustainability for us has always been a guiding principle since forever. You know, now sustainability is trendy, but we were sustainable already many years ago when only a few people were looking at this thing, you know, this philosophy.
The wine that we're trying today is the 2021, and this is a blend of various varieties, both traditional and modern, to Italy. A little Cabernet, a little Petit Verdot. I think the blend can change too, right? You guys change it around a little bit?
The blend, it depends also on the yields that you know very well can vary year by year, but that's basically the average percentage. The 85% Sangiovese comes from our younger vineyards between 10 and 20 years old vines, and then the Cabernet Sauvignon and Petit Verdot comes from one of the vineyards we have in the southeast named Pietradonice. The 2021 in quality was a very great vintage. Unfortunately, not for yields because in April we had one of the most challenging late frost. So we basically lost on average 35% of the production. But I think the wine, the Rosso 21 is, I think, a preview of how the Brunellos will show up in a couple of years. And basically our father idea when he started producing this wine back in 2006 with the idea to show the quality, commitment, the philosophy and the style of Casanova di Neri, also to have a wine that for a very attractive price, a wine that you can enjoy immediately, but at the same time, if you keep by mistake for a few years in the cellar, it won't disappoint. So still wage for a surprising number of years. Of course, not as long as the Brunellos, but is also a wine that can surprisingly age because it's still from the Sangiovese from the great vineyard. soften the Sangiovese in this case is softened a little bit by the Cabernet Sauvignon and Petit Verdot. So you have a wine with very roundness, with very pleasant, smooth tannins, but also with a great and lively acidity. The Rosso is a wine that we age for 12 months in the big Slavonian oak, and then for a few months before the battle aging. And I think that's usually the starting point of Casanova di Neri, because it's the most let's say easy drinking, the most approachable wine, but you can already understand the quality of the wine. So I guess you'll be quite surprised because you have is a wine that shares the same family feeling of the others, and at the same time for let's say also an entry level price. So if you are interested, you start with the Rosso and then you move on with our Brunellos.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We're going to taste this delicious 2001 with our audience now. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and meeting with me and teaching us about the brand. And I look forward to seeing you in Italy. Take care. Thank you so much. Great job. That guy was awesome.
Yep.
The wine is great. I love the price value. Is Jim Ramirez out there on our Zoom tonight? Did he get on board okay? Hope Jim's able to hear me. We sent Jim a kit, so I'm expecting he'll be on there, but I believe this wine was just used in a nice family gathering for the wedding of his son based on some communications we had. And you know, it's a really people-pleasing wine, and at the price point you get 10% off that price as well. So it's a really good deal, really strong value proposition for you. Next wine we're going to taste, wine number 2, Tenuta Silvio Nardi. In fact, on a recent visit to Tuscany, we went from Silvio Nardi to Rosso di Montalcino. I'm sorry, to Casanova di Neri. And on our way to Casanova di Neri, we realized we had left bags and jackets and all kinds of stuff at Tenuta Silvio Nardi. And so I called Miss Nardi and told her, you know, we'll send a messenger or something like that. She goes, no, I haven't seen my friends over at Casanova di Neri for a while, so I'll get in my car and drive an hour and a half and bring you your jackets, your bags. I mean, just amazing. I was absolutely floored that she did that for us. But Amelia Nardi is one of the best people on the planet, and I miss her dearly. She's just retired from the operation and is passing it on to the next generation in her family. So quite a few new names involved at Nardi, but the wines are great. And let's get into wine number 2. And here we go. Heroes of Brunello di Montalcino, and we are now with Sarah Klein. Sarah has an extensive Italian import expertise, has worked for some of the best in the business, and currently is, what is your title now, Sarah, with Co-Brand?
Senior Category Specialist Italian Portfolio. 18th year.
Time flies, Sarah.
Yes.
And honestly, Sarah, we are about to taste a wine from just a really amazing family. I had a great time representing this wine back in the day. And we are talking about Tenuta Silvio Nardi, the Rosso di Montalcino. Tell us all about this little gem. And we are tasting the Rosso, which we will talk about in just a second what that means as far as the category of Brunello to Montalcino.
Yeah, so thank you for having me and for also representing the estate of Silvio Nardi tonight. We're very fortunate with this producer. They're kind of, you know, the atypical story here. They're not coming from, you know, generations of winemakers. They ultimately are kind of seen as being foreigners to the area. They originally from Umbria, and it really is all because of Silvio and just, you know, his kind of entrepreneurial aspect of how they paved their way into becoming one of the original producers of Brunello production. Silvio's families had, since the early 1900s, they were in the agricultural business, the farming component for making plows. And his history comes back that he would basically come into the area and sell his plows and his farming equipment to the people that we know who are iconic from this area, like Biondi Santi and Chachi Piccolomini. And basically, they're the ones who said, you know, we're investing in you with your products. We think that you also should invest here with what we're doing in this kind of, you know, emerging wine scene. You know, this is many moons ago, many decades ago. And it was in 1944 that, you know, he came in and started buying some land. It was 1958 that they started making their first vintage of Brunello. So if you put that just in the category, they were the sixth family in production, you know, for being foreigners, just to be some of the originals here. I really love highlighting that about them.
Right.
And, you know, it was specifically this one plot that Silvio bought into, Montalcino, that really has, you know, become the integral part of what this estate is and what it's become and what it's going to be even further down the road, and how it even affects just the Rosso. You know, this little plot that's southeast of Montalcino, their primary estate that we're looking here is northwest of Montalcino. This is the area of the Casale del Bosco. You can see that's surrounded by the forest, which is what the word Bosco is enhancing here. And this is where you have a lot of the regular Brunello production as well as the Rosso production. But this little plot of Montalcino that now is considered to have some of the most heirloom Sangiovese Grosso, you know, the varietal for Rosso and Brunello production in Montalcino. And it was his daughter Emilia who basically worked with the University of Siena and the Ministry of Agriculture to categorize this specific clone of theirs of Sangiovese Grosso, of narrowing it down, vines, and just how it grew, the shape of the bunch, the canopy itself. And they got basically 5 clones of Sangiovese Grosso approved from that single vineyard into the catalog of clonal selection. So they have their own clones called Nardi 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wow, which now is basically the primary, you know, use of their plantings. So everything from their single vineyard production of Montalcino to their classic of the regular Brunello, and even here to what you're having tonight, the Rosso, is basically their own indigenous fruit from their estate. It couldn't get more organic, you know, as we say, terroir expressive, especially coming from this area, from really, you know, Chachi Piccolomini, Biondi Santi. These are also some of the other producers who have this, but that really is what sets this family, who are considered foreigners, you know, apart from everybody else in the category.
Now, Rosso is the wine that is made, you know, maybe it's by a separate lots or a grade selection or maybe a barrel selection. Every winery kind of has a different formula for where their Rosso is coming from.
Yeah.
But Rosso doesn't have the same laws as a Brunello di Montalcino. Rosso can be 1 year old, right? Is it 1 or 2?
No, I think you have to do at least 2 or 3 years of aging before you can release it. But ultimately, yeah, if you think just the requirements of Brunello, which is 5 years of aging, you can't just sit there for 5 years. You know, what are we going to be doing? Obviously, people, you know, they're making something, they need to sell it. And that's kind of what Rosso can do for you for the interim of just while you're waiting for, you know, the maturation of the Brunello, but also something else that's a little bit more everyday that you can enjoy. You know, Rossos, they always have this really great elegance to them, and it shows, you know, the little softer, fruitier side of the Sangiovese Grosso, you know, not quite to when it gets to that, you know, full throttle level of when it's at the maturation point like Brunello. So it's always so food friendly in that way and just easy to enjoy. And, you know, because of it too, it's maybe a little bit more medium bodied versus, you know, as full body association with Brunello.
There's a look in the caves that are underneath that property that
Yes.
visiting. I got to visit Amelia a couple years back, and just a wonderful little property, certainly boutique,
Mhm.
and you know, family's very hands-on, and really optimal spot. And if you've ever had a chance to meet her, she's just salt of the earth, one of the best people you can meet.
Well, and someone who's really had to, you know, stand up for herself. She took over for her family's estate after her father's passing. And, you know, she was very much a young pup in her mid-20s. This was, you know, way back in the 80s too, just when women weren't quite associated of having roles in the family, especially in the wine industry at that time, and especially in this area. And she's been, you know, the president of different associations for Montalcino, and really has become one of the, you know, the pioneers for the area. So something we always like to attribute back to her of just, she's a very regal and elegant woman, but she's definitely left her mark along with her father here in Montalcino.
And tonight we're tasting the 17, which shows you just how lovely these things age, even though right after the 17, we'll be moving into the 2020 or 2021. And that price point and value, I mean, these wines are probably better line priced than some of the Chiantis of the world. So this is a lot of wine for the money, and really is a rewarding, like Sarah said, kind of a daily drinker and ready to drink as well. And I think you guys will enjoy it.
Yes, very much so.
Thanks so much, Sarah.
You're so welcome. Enjoy, everyone.
Couple things. So we celebrate the wine that we just had, which is this beautiful 2017. We just have one bottle, I think, remaining of this particular vintage, but if you'll look in, you'll see that we also have the brand new 2021 now in stock. That price did jump a bit. There were a lot of things that happened between 2017 and 2021. But we still are able to keep the 21 under 30 bucks, and 21 is going to be a great vintage, and maybe a great vintage to buy a little inventory of some of the Rosso, because it's going to be so admired. Looks like a couple of you may have had a little cloudiness at the bottom of your jar. Is that possible? I see Wendy commenting on the Zoom, as well as Lisa. And probably it was just about where in the bottle they were pouring the wine from. And as we got to the bottom of the bottle, that wine can have some solids developing. I did not know that that was happening, but it is possible. Should not have thrown that much. Hopefully it's not a distraction for you. But yeah, it's these wines are made very fresh, and the color can coagulate a little bit and start to fall out if you have like small black little droplets of, that's just color that is coagulated a little bit. There may be some other solids here. I don't know. Apparently not very much filtration is being used. Some wineries do that, some wineries don't. Some wineries think that filtration strips the wine. Some wineries believe that it refines the wine. Different perspectives. 17 was a pretty challenging vintage for the grape growers. There were a lot of issues that year with frost and rain and heat and all kinds of challenges that way. Made some beautiful wines, didn't make a lot of them. And certainly from a vintage standpoint, you're going to see a lot of critique of the 17 vintage uh, rather than praise. 16 was just so good, and 18 as well. So they kind of can beat up on how difficult 17 was. But you can see 90-point score, solid for this type of an effort. A Rosso like this, the 17 is ready to drink. Here we are in 24, 7 years old, and still has quite a journey. I wouldn't say this wine still has the massive color. I don't think it ever had massive color. I see someone saying bricking. Sure, Sangiovese does not hold its color very much because this wine has kind of some numeric issues with its pH and its acidity being so strong and so high. It kind of has a hard time getting deeper color, especially in a wine like Rosso that didn't see much of any time in wood, and you know, it isn't a wine where they're there to extract color. They're going to take the very best fruit, put it into their Brunello program, and Rosso will be a collection of younger vines, and potentially some Brunello vineyards that just weren't being selected because of harvest, because of that vintage. And in fact, if you were making the 2017 vintage and you knew there were some difficulties, you really probably worked very hard to make a small amount of very good Brunello, and then put anything that was used in that effort that wasn't used in the final bottling, you would declassify to your Rosso and probably have a significantly larger percentage of Rosso than in a good vintage, where you're going to keep a lot of the, you know, in a really good vintage, you're going to try to maximize your return, and you're going to not maybe not make as much Rosso in comparison to your total production of Brunello. I hope those helped. Now, another couple questions, and I'm answering questions that are in the chat box. If you want to use that, you're also welcome to chat with me right here. This is a live program, and I am more than happy to field your questions. Let's see. I think Kent came in asking, what is the definition of a tenuta? And that is basically just like saying a chateau or you know, vineyard or winery. It's the house of Silvio Nardi. And this is their Rosso di Montalcino, which is in Tuscany, and the 2017. All right, I'm going to just check in on you guys. Any questions so far? Jim, I saw you click in. You made it. Let me unmute you. There you go. Can you hear me now, Jim? We didn't, we were tasting Eroso in glass number 1, and I was commenting, I was hoping you were able to make it for that one. Your family enjoyed that Eroso at your son's wedding, I believe. I got you muted again there, Jim, sorry. Not yet. Still can't hear you.
This side. Here we go. How's that?
That works, buddy.
Okay, absolutely. It was wonderful. Everything, I missed all the comments, so I apologize if I'm repeating most of, but very enjoyable. Everybody liked it. As a matter of fact, we had another bottle last night, so very much think it's a great value.
Cool. So we just finished our second wine, and the Casanova di Neri was number 1. And they both kind of represent outsiders to the category. One is known as an IGT, the Rosso, and that is the category that would live in. And when the Italians make great wines, sometimes they don't want to follow the rules, so they'll just make a wine and it'll be an IGT. A little bit later in the program, we're going to taste Reserva from Podera La Ripi, and they have a vineyard on their property that has something like 70,000 grapevines per hectare. It is one of the most highest densely planted vineyards in the world. It's called Bonsai, and they make a $500 bottle of Sangiovese from that property, and it is an IGT as well because there is no category to hold it. It is not a super Tuscan. It is Sangiovese Grosso. It is grown in Brunello in Montalcino, but they don't follow the Brunello rules. They're not going to hold it as long in the wood. They're not going to hold it as long at the winery. And it's kind of meant to compete with the great wines of the world, and rather than fall in line with other rules and stuff like that. And we'll talk about it again, but it's just something a little crazy, a little special. So you can have $20 IGTs and $500 IGTs. In fact, Sassicaia was a IGT until the Italian government said, well, that Sassicaia is pretty successful. Maybe we just create a DOCG just for Sassicaia, and that's what they did. We move on. I don't think you can see that. Let me try it again. How's that? Can you see it now? We move on to wine number 3, Castel Castle Giocondo. This is from the Frescobaldi family, and I think you're going to love this wine.
Heroes of Brunello de Montalcino take us all over the countryside and all over this country to talk to the experts. And we're very fortunate to have on our Zoom right now Joseph Schlegel. Did I get that right, Joseph?
Yes.
All right, good. Joseph is the import manager for Shaw Ross. Is that the right title?
That's correct.
Well, we are fortunate to be talking to you today about Brunello de Montalcino. You guys have Frescobaldi. Frescobaldi is a super important Italian producer, and the family has made some really strong moves over the last decade and continues to take some ground. And we have carried a number of different Frescobaldi wines at Merchant of Wine. I have met Mr. Frescobaldi a number of times, actually. He's a remarkable human being. And I've been to your Chianti facility in Tuscany as well. But I have not been to the Castel Giocondo.
Awesome.
Is this a separate facility?
So it is. So for those who don't know, Frescobaldi has 11 different properties throughout Tuscany now. Castel Giocondo being their Montalcino property. I'm not sure if you got to go to Nipozzano, Castiglione, or Purano, but those are 3 Chianti producers that are all owned by the family. The Frescobaldis have been making wine for over 700 years. They are probably one of the founding families of Firenze, a family that's been around not just in the wine world, but also as merchants throughout Florence's great history. So a family that's really well known. Marchese Lamberto Frescobaldi is the family member who's currently in charge of the brand.
Got it. Well, we today are talking about. Here we are. This is a look at the house of that is Castel Giocondo.
Correct.
Awesome. And in Brunello de Montalcino, Brunello is the wine. This is our first actual Brunello of our tasting today, because we've tasted a blended wine made in Montalcino called a Il Rosso, which is beautiful, but it's not, by law, it is not a Refel and it's not a Brunello. Then we tasted a Rosso de Montalcino, which is a young wine meant to be able to pour or to bottle
wines that they don't intend to take to the full 5 years of aging. And this one is a full-on Brunello that requires it to be 5 years from the vintage date. And this is a category that has been of keen interest to the investment community. It actually maintains the highest average price point of any wine in the world as far as like a category. Brunello de Montalcino as a category maintains the highest average price point. I guess if you could categorize first growth Bordeaux, it might be higher, but or Grand Cru Burgundy, but the production size of Brunello de Montalcino is quite large. And this is something that the investment banks have been paying attention to, the high rate that you're getting for Brunello, especially compared to other Italian wines, and the interest, as you can even see on the audience of this Zoom, is very high in Brunello. Can you tell us about this particular Brunello?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, part of the Frescobaldi family of wineries throughout Tuscany. With our kind of unique location being in Montalcino, it's got really varied exposure and terrain. We've got Galestro, clay, and Pliocene sands that offers infinite, nuances to this Brunello. As mentioned, it is 100% Sangiovese Grosso, aged 5 years in wood prior to its release. The Castelgiacondo is the flagship producer in the Frescobaldi family, and that I believe is due to the the heavy dominance of the Brunello de Montalcino within the region.
Yeah, this is a significant wine from a significant producer, and I just wanted to have you pretend to slip away with me into these hilly, steep sites where you get this more pronounced version of Sangiovese, more intensified sunshine, bigger, riper, richer flavors. And there are a lot of wines in Tuscany made from Sangiovese, but the Sangiovese Grosso, with all of its structure and then the aging requirement, make this a expensive wine to produce and a flagship wine for the world. And when these great vintages come out, they come out to much fanfare. So we're very spoiled tonight to be able to taste the great 2016. Like many past great vintages, it's always talked about, is this the greatest vintage of all time? And currently, I believe the 16 has got that mantle as perhaps one of the greatest vintages of all time. At least it's in a short list, if it's not the best. And this particular wine is a knockout, Joe. It's real. I was able to taste it this morning when we were making the jars. It is flamboyant. It is so pure from start to finish. And we're going to taste that wine right now with our audience. So thank you for taking us inside Castelgiacondo. And we are going to be out of the 16 on this event, and we're going to be providing a group with a link to the 18 wine that's coming in. If you want to purchase the 18, that's what we're going to have available to sell. And it's a great follow-up vintage for us for this particular wine. Do you know if that 18 has received any press yet?
Yeah, so I got another 95 from James Suckling, actually, that just released. So to your point, the 2016 is following up an amazing 15 vintage. We had a slight dip in 17, although that was still, I believe, a 4-star vintage. Back to the 2018, which would be another stellar vintage here. So we're on a really nice string of fantastic vintages, which is great for the consumer because some of these wines do go quick. So have faith that the 2018 is going to be another fantastic example of Castelgiacondo.
Yeah, I think I have had the honor to taste that 18 already, and it is really pretty. I think 16 is punctuated with power and intensity, but the 18s just seem to have a little bit more elegance to them. Not light at all. These are just massive wines, but the 18s are gorgeous, and I think that they're going to
test out very, very well. They're just starting to arrive right now. Now that we're in that 5-year window's over. So they'll be coming in and they won't be lasting all that long because 17 was kind of a step off, where we still saw some beautiful wines in 17, but it wasn't considered a great vintage for Brunello. So you actually had to work really hard to make the wine beautiful. And I appreciate those just as much as a great vintage wine. But just know that in the collectible strata, 18 is going to be right there. Joseph, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Alcohol in this wine says 14.5, and I believe that seems pretty accurate, but sometimes 14.5 can be a little, I won't say manipulated, but you do have a little bit of range to be off, and 14.5 is where the tax changes on the wine. So you're going to see a lot of producers say they're 14.5, and they could be a little closer to 15%. Any other questions, comments? How's that wine treating you all? Yeah, a couple thumbs up from Marie. Thank you. David, how you doing over there, buddy? Good to see you. I just muted you as you unmuted, David.
Oh, yeah, sorry. We're good. We're good. It's great. It reminds me of our trip to Tuscany.
You betcha.
With you.
Yeah. Well, beautiful wine, beautiful start. We got 2 more awesome wines to present here. And yeah, I'm glad you like that, Jim. Some of these 16s, you know, some of these wines can get a little pricier. People know that 16 is a great, powerful vintage, and maybe you don't want to own wines like this until they're ready. But trust me, I'm running out of 16s. This event really, hit a couple these particular wines, but I had a pretty generous selection of 16s, and they've been getting hit pretty hard over the last couple of months. You will just need to buy a Brunello from a great producer, great vintage, and maybe wait a few years if you would like to. But 16s are really heading into their best window. 10 years is really the magic number if you can get there. So 26 for the 16s will be magic. Now, I'm going to go back to the 18 vintages that are starting to arrive. I think there's something a little more supple about 18 than 16. 16 is just like power, muscle in your face, just big and powerful. And the 18s just have a little bit of more of a tenderness to them. So I just drank some 18s, and I was like really surprised at how some of them actually appear like they could be even drank first before the 16s. But I've been assured that the vintage quality, both of them, very, very high, very highly touted. And we've got more vintages to look forward to. Like I said, 21 after the 18. I'm not even sure about 19 or 20 as far as Brunello vintage, but 21 is going to be great. I know that. We go back into our PowerPoint and progress. We're hitting our Reserva on this wine lineup. We're coming off of that powerful wine, and I just want to continue up that curve. This is a even bigger, even chewier, even more dense, and a lot more expensive, but comes from a brand I respect deeply. And so I would encourage you to get to know this brand. It hasn't been around all that long. It is building a sensational reputation, and I'll let our guest tell us more about it.
Heroes of Brunello de Montalcino allow us to interview some great people all over the place. And Heather Gordon is with us right now. She is with the importer Dark Star Imports and you are traveling like crazy, Heather. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Do you have to wear two watches so you remember what time zone you're in?
No, not at all.
Well, I do appreciate you making time for us. We're tasting now a wine called Podera Rippi. This is the Reserva Brunello di Montalcino from 2016. This is our only Reserva today, and it's a really special property. And I'm really excited that we get to include it in this showing. And it's a special property to me too. I really enjoyed going to this property and meeting with Sebastian, learning about the property. It's a really significant site. What can you tell us about Liripi?
Yeah. So the property is so beautiful and just the whole ethos of the company. So Francesco Illy started in around 1997, wanted to produce wine. He is known for Illy coffee, or the espresso that you'll see pretty much anywhere in Italy. And so he really had a desire to make wine. Initially, he wanted to make wine on an island. And he was kind of looking around, trying to figure out what vineyard site, where he wanted to be. He didn't really know. And so he stumbled upon this area in Montalcino that actually was just occupied by a shepherd and his sheep. And it was unpopulated. There was nothing done to the soil. And so actually when he started, the soil was very lacking in nutrients. So he, in 1997, started to produce, or started to plant at least, and get that area started. As he was working, he learned about biodynamics, and really has an entire ethos of respecting the land that you're working with. And now today, fast forward, you can see by how beautiful the land is, how densely populated some of the vines are, which his bonsai vineyard is one of the most densely populated areas of land by vines in the entire world.
By the way, I was hoping she was going to talk about that map, and she didn't. We'll see those pictures in just a minute.
So yeah, the whole winery is now biodynamic, which takes a lot. You have to have a full biodiversity ecosystem that you're constantly putting your energy into. So they have bees on the property, they have animals like goats and different, livestock on the property. They have vegetation that all kind of helps create a balanced environment for the vines, and for everything else. There's olive trees on on this property as well. So yeah, it's a really special place, and I think that that's their entire mindset when it comes to the wines. Sebastian is a young winemaker who has recently started, in the past couple of years, has started making the wines, and he has taken a lot of time and energy, and you can kind of feel that energy in the wine. So the wine that you're going to be tasting, the Brunello, that one was first produced in 2003. And so that's when they were fully biodynamic at that time.
Here's the facility. It is really made with this incredible architectural feature, gravity flow being important, biodynamics, ethos important. And even though this is built on a fairly steep curve in a downward direction, all the tanks are leveled, and they just do some really cool stuff here. And you get this amazing, almost spiritual feeling on the property.
Yeah. It's lovely. The big thing that they talk about a lot is energy and energy flowing and having good kind of energy around the property. So you definitely see that that is the importance there.
I'm just gonna go
Oh.
back a couple, Heather, and talk. You mentioned the bonsai. This is
Uh-huh.
a experimental block, and I know we're talking about Brunello to Montalcino, but
Uh-huh.
we do get a few bottles of the bonsai, which is one of the most densely planted vineyards in Italy, if not.
The world, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember how many vines it is, like per hectare? It's like some crazy
It's
number.
like it's like 62,000 vines.
Yeah, it's like, and
Yeah.
they're literally like bonsai. They're teeny little plants. They make
Mhm.
teeny little intense amounts of fruit. And the bonsai is a pure expression of that vineyard.
Yeah.
We have some on the website if you want to check it out.
Yeah.
It is a super, I would say, collectible rarity.
Yeah. It's very hard to get. Yeah, I wish there was more because it's so lovely and you can tell.
Yeah, I went there and made a nice connection with Sebastian, and
Mhm.
our allocation is 2 bottles. So
Yeah.
and we might be the only one that got it in LA. I'm not sure.
Yeah, honestly, I think you guys were. There hasn't been like any more in so long, and we don't even have any, in the country.
That's just to not beat it to death there though, but the that bonsai vineyard is right here. And as we're standing in the bonsai vineyard, there's like a couple hundred uh, chickens and ducks walking by. There's cows out here. It's just a living farm. And again, the ethos here is on 10. Everything they do is about biodynamics. They've been certified Demeter, and that's a very high certification and bio. They're they lead the actual region in biodynamic um, uh, uh, type of farming, and this is a type of an atmosphere that the owner wanted to retire into. He had worked hard in his coffee empire and wanted to be able to pass on something for generations, and also, live a nice long life here, someplace safe, and be able to eat the proteins and the foods off the property.
And
Heroes of Brunello de we're
it back out
gonna
here.
learn about this wine now. Anything you want us to know about this Reserva?
So this one has 24 months in oak, and then it has 18 months in cement. And I think that 18 months in cement actually does it a lot of service because cement is porous. So you get a little bit more of this roundness and this richness to it. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, we are definitely going to enjoy it.
Excellent.
Coming in about $180 for a 2016 Reserva with this type of pedigree is absolutely on point. These wines do tend to soar past the 200 number pretty quickly. And we're really excited to share this wine with you. I do have approximately a dozen bottles remaining going into this event. So if any of you want a special occasion opportunity here, this is a wine that will potentially live for the rest of your lives. It's got a great shelf potential. You can sneak it open now, but I think its best days are probably in around 2026 and beyond. We're going to taste it now, Heather, with our group. I want to thank you for making time to talk to us about Podera Rippi. And we encourage everybody, if you're going to go to Italy, maybe you can make it to Brunello de Montalcino. This facility is gorgeous. It has a wonderful restaurant environment, and we can set you up with an appointment.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
All righty.
Cool. Yeah. Whether you want to go to Casanova di Neri, Tenuta Silvio Nardi, Castelgioconda, or Podera Rippi, they all have great hospitality programs. And I'd love to introduce you to those folks to help you achieve that. Or you could just wait till we go back to Tuscany and come with me. And we'll probably not go to those places, but go to other great places, because I rarely repeat the same winery with a group, but I do often go back, check in on some people and see things, and maybe a decade later, kind of reconnect. We have one last wine here, and this is a beautiful, beautiful, but much more classic style. We just tasted two very full throttle, big, ripe, modern styles of Brunello Montalcino. I think you're really going to like our last version, but it is a step in a different direction, a step into a different time. And let's learn about that from our representative from Augustina Perry.
Our final Brunello de Montalcino guest is sitting in Brooklyn. Valerie Maston is with the Rare Wine Company. We buy a lot of really fascinating wines from Rare Wine Company. And Valerie, we're so pleased to be able to talk Brunello de Montalcino with you. Pleasure to meet you.
Awesome. Great to meet you too, Ian, and everyone from all over the world, presumably.
Our world, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, and thanks for doing this. We've enjoyed learning about Brunello de Montalcino tonight, and we're finishing with this stunning, beautiful, and we've been able to reach back and pour the 16 vintage, Valerie.
Very cool.
I think you guys are selling the 18 now, or 17, one of the two in Los Angeles. So when we're done with the 16, we'll be moving into that vintage. But this is a great one to have in store, and it's been out of. I mean, most people are out of stock on this wine already. 16 is such a great vintage. But tell us the subtleties about this baby, and have you been there personally?
Sure. Actually, I have not visited Augustina Pieri, the Tuscan trips on this slate this year. I have traveled extensively in Montalcino, so I think you tasted Casanova di Neri earlier, and of course I've visited the iconic Giancarlo Pacenti, and actually there's a relationship between Augustina Pieri. It was founded by the nephew of Pacenti, and Pacenti is Montalcino royalty. He was the president of the consortium, and it makes some pretty fantastic Sangiovese, Brunello, and Rosso di Montalcino. But the founder and winemaker at Augustina Pieri, Francesco Monacci, kind of waited until he could find really the right kind of slice of land in Montalcino. There was pretty exorbitant growth of the appellation in the 80s and 90s, and some land was brought in that maybe wasn't traditionally the best places for growing Sangiovese Grosso and making Brunello, but he settled, and it's kind of interesting. It's a little known secret, but the address of the winery is in a little region called Sant'Angelo Scalo, but the vineyards themselves and all of the grapes that go into this Brunello are coming from Castelnuovo dell'Abate. So dell'Abate is in the southern part of Montalcino. This is straight south-facing slopes, lots of sunshine, and they're really, as the plateau of Montalcino kind of tips down and slopes down. And if you've been talking about soil types at all in Montalcino, there's a couple of subzones, and Castelnuovo dell'Abate is definitely considered not only the warmest, but has some rich, I shouldn't say rich, actually. I should say calcareous limestone soils with some ancient marls, and a little bit of galestro rock in there, if you guys have talked about some of the soils in Montalcino.
Got a picture here of the Shea. How much area, how much vineyard acreage or hectares are we talking about for Perry?
So they have 11 hectares, but only 7 are under vine. So the rest will be forest and olive and, you know, the things that a lot of people have here on these kind of multi-agricultural farms.
Very good. And why is Agostino, highly regarded? What is the secret to his success? I know you guys have pretty much, you guys can carry any brand, any producer that you wanted because you're so good at what you do. But what is it about Agostino that makes him worthy of being in the Rare Wine Company?
That is really a great question because I think that Pieri kind of flies a little bit under the radar. It's a little bit of an insider's little secret. We really champion producers who value traditional values and traditional winemaking. And one thing with Pieri is it's very, very, very gentle winemaking. So in the traditional sense, it's a very long, slow fermentation. They use some vats, some wood vats. There's some stainless steel, but generally that's for blending because each of the 5 parcels of the vineyards are vinified separately. And then there's blending later. So the best can go into the Brunello, and sometimes some of the other fruit will be declassified into the Rosso di Montalcino, which is also an excellent value. But from that vinification standpoint, everything is done with indigenous yeast, so no cultured yeast. Everything is spontaneous, and then aging is done in old French demi-mude, which is a 600-liter cask, and some bigger Slovenian oak casks. So again, like no new wood, no fast, like aggressive fermentation, and really this area where the grapes are grown on the south-facing slope can be known for getting these really long hang times. Because it's up on the slope, you get some big diurnal swing, which means a big temperature difference between day and night. And that's really, really important in developing the aromatic kind of ripeness and really giving the tannins time to ripen. So you get this softer style in Agostino Pieri, so the tannins aren't like, wildly aggressive. It means that it's a wine that is really, really great to enjoy now through 30 years. I wouldn't say these wines are gonna, they're not built like some of the Montalcino wines that will go 60 plus years. So,
and need to be 25 years old to enjoy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Some of these wines are young and some of them are maybe a little bit more masculine and muscular, and in that regard needs more bottle age, whereas this wine's really kind of just hitting that sexy moment where it speaks to you in the nose and it feels really nice and smooth in the mouth. And I think that's telling you a lot about how it's made and where it's at in its evolution. And yet you still have 15 years to enjoy this wine in its peak form.
Absolutely. I love that note, these silky tannins. Again, the tannins are ripe. And just a note on 2016, it's pretty special to have the 16s to taste today, and some still available. It is one of the best vintages in a generation. It was one of those vintages that people would describe as easy after a series of extreme drought or extreme heat or extreme rain. And so there was really a nice warm summer. There was rain at the right times. There was a really prolonged, like long, warm fall that just again allowed this maturity and ripeness of that tannin and aromatic components and all of those what we say are physiological components of ripeness that really kind of give extra complexity and layers to the wine.
Oh, you take care, and thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Ian. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Fun, fun, fun. Valerie was great. I actually talked to her for a lot longer. We cut that ending off because we were going down Geek Boulevard. She's really a wine geek, and Rare Wine Company carries those insider geeky wines. This is definitely recognized among the wine elites inside of the Brunello collectors as one of the more pretty. I think it's showing tonight. And you know what I love about this little 2-ounce pour that we send you is that because they're in these little jars, and my team does such a good job. We fill them up and get them out there, really close to the top. So it's just like a perfect little decantation. And all these wines were great when we opened them, but I was like, ooh, that's strong. Oh, that's hard. Ooh. And here they're showing like in a really good spot. Like they just had the perfect amount of time in the decanter. So keep that in mind. If you make a purchase, you want to decant these type of wines, get them out of the bottle, get them into decanter, let them sit there for a while, and let them breathe. We continue to Zoom, and coming up next week already, is it Valentine's Day already? That doesn't seem possible, but it is. Today's the 7th, next week is the 14th, so we are having our wine, cheese, and chocolate Valentine's edition. I will be honest, I price this event at a slightly higher price than most of our Zooms, but I'm going to show you some great cheese, some great wine, some great chocolate. My cost of production is enormous. And also the time of preparation is huge in getting these kits out. So I think you'll really enjoy it. If you want to join us for Valentine's, we'll deliver this to your home and we'll taste some great things, both dry wines and dessert wines, not just dessert wines, but some really good stuff from across the spectrum and some really champion products. For those of you that live in Los Angeles, this is an APB about one of our top events of the year. It's called Rhone Warriors, and it is the day after Valentine's Day. We're at Tess Restaurant in West Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, right next to Fred Siegel. In fact, you're going to park at Fred Siegel and walk in. This is a great restaurant location. We've got 14 top Rhone producers from around the world that are going to be there. And the ticket is an incredible price value. Come and taste all these wines. You want to arrive early, there's a VIP ticket that includes dinner at Tess. There's a 6 o'clock, we call it the dinner, the VVIP, and then we have the 6 o'clock early entrance VIP that comes with a nice amount of tray passed appetizers. And then the general admission ticket at 6:45, we give you a little slider and onion ring combo so that you can enjoy some of your Syrah, Grenache, Mourvedre wines from some top producers. Take a look at the website. Some really awesome producers are going to be there. Petro Sassi, last year's winner, Levo, M. Chapoutier is going to be there. Michel Chapoutier. Just a really classy top lineup and a lot of teeny producers. Wow, teeny producers that you're going to want to get to know. One more event to promote coming down the pipe early March, the Scarecrow Dinner. What we're doing is if we sell this dinner out, you're going to taste every vintage of Scarecrow ever produced. If we don't sell it out, we'll taste a high selection. But we will taste some Emiton, we'll taste some Scarecrow, and you'll be able to taste these side by side, which is really what my crazy dinners give you a chance to do. You could sit back and drink a bottle of Scarecrow, but giving it some sort of texture by being able to compare the 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 next to each other, and compare and contrast the vintages. I think this is a remarkable story, and really has become one of the most ultimate collectible wines in California. And I don't think it's done yet. I think this wine will triple in value over the next decade. This is really a bullish call on my part. I'm not usually that bullish about the future of particular wine brands, but this one is special. And the wine, it continues to garner 100-point scores, and the story here is just too good. So that's my little take on that. You'll get more if you come to the dinner. I'll teach you all about Scarecrow, what makes it so amazing. But check out the Learn About Wine calendar for those of you that live in Los Angeles. Check out the Zoom into Wine calendar, because we have some really special Zooms. I mean, we don't just pick up the same topics over and over again. We're constantly trying to look for new angles, new ideas, new product that maybe you'll come back and see us again. That's the whole idea, right? So coming down the pipe, I am traveling a little bit, and last couple of years when I traveled, I tried to host a Zoom once from Sicily at 4 in the morning. I kind of pulverized my trip, so I'm not going to do that this year. We're going to take a couple of Wednesdays off in the next month, because I'm in Japan at the end of February, and I'll be in March. I'll be somewhere in March. I can't remember where. But we'll have a spectacular dessert lineup. The wines are already on there. We're going to go from Hungarian Tokaj, drinking 6 Petuños, a $200 bottle of Tokaj, drinking amazing Sauternes, amazing ports, really covering a lot of bases in this program. And some of the best in the business at what they do. Heroes of Oregon, I've got the wines on the list. I couldn't be prouder of the list of Oregon producers that we're going to bring to the table. Great Greek wines. Yes, great. Not cheap Greek wines, great Greek wines. That's going to be our topic on this particular Zoom, and you're going to be really impressed with the Xenomarvro and some of the incredible whites that we're seeing. I think the wines have merit a little focus. We will do a repeat from last year, Baja and Beyond. The wines are 100% different. All new lineup of producers, and I've got some really good confidence that we're going to get some legends to be live on our Zoom. So you want to be there and taste some great stuff from Baja. The Sicily lineup, I love the stuff off of the mountain, and I just can't get enough of it. In fact, I bought so much great Sicilian wine. I'm like, I got to do a Zoom on these great wines of Sicily, because I own a lot of it, and I will drink it all if I don't get it out to you all. So Caricante, and the red wines, which I think they should be here. There they are. The Norello Marscalese. We're going to taste a 14 from Calabretta that rocks my world. We'll taste also this Crasso Contratto. Crasso Contratto is just a spectacular wine imported by Kermit Lynch. The Gaia family has invested on Mount Etna. We're going to show you their Ida. And so some really cool wines of Sicily. And we continue. That takes us out with Spain and Colt wines out to the end of April. And but we will continue to produce these events every Wednesday. You can join us, and I hope you will. And please tell a friend. We'll be right here. And our Learn About Wine classes are alive and thriving. We are so thankful that we could do that. And we also have our Merchant of Wine, which we do free delivery in Los Angeles on your orders. $20 outside of LA. You have to be within 25 miles of the shop to get the free delivery, because we send out a courier, not a UPS service. Person comes to our store in the morning, picks up the packages and delivers them to your house. So it's a really great way to do it. And then outside of LA, we are with UPS, but we subsidize that shipping. Trust me, $20 does not cover the cost. So take advantage of that if you can. And then we got the Super Bowl coming up this weekend. Who do you guys want to win?
You see?
Well, I'm in San Francisco now, so I think it's the Niners.
It is Niners
I
for
was
sure.
waiting for like a cry of Niner fans.
Yeah, has to be the Niners, Ian.
Yeah,
I'm still a Dodger girl, but now that I'm up here, I'm a Niners girl as well, because you just can't not love them.
Niners are amazing. They're so they've got one of the best offenses of all time.
And the defense isn't too bad either.
But man, you're going up against an incredible story with the Chiefs, and
Yeah.
I think that they've got a lead singer that's going.
She's pretty awesome, but yeah, we like her. But
Awesome,
she's
come
gonna lose.
on.
Yeah, she's gonna lose. Yeah. Or else there'll be a conspiracy. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to make a bold prediction that she's announcing that they're getting married on Monday or Tuesday. So
There you go. That's a good one. Yeah.
you heard it here first.
Writing it down in my notes to bring it up next time.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have a great night. I'll stick around and talk to whoever wants to hang out. But thanks for joining me tonight for Brunello.
That was a great one.
Thanks,
Ian.
Ian.
That was very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
So Ian, I do have a question about delivery of an order we haven't ordered yet. We've been to a couple of these.
Sure.
We want to have it, sent to a location in LA, but I guess it's kind of around timing because we're going to send it to my daughter and
We're live.
yeah, she's in LA. She's in Brentwood, Santa Monica area. So so how if we put the order in online, do you contact her to
Yeah,
Tuesday?
we would make sure she knows. It would be
Hear
helpful.
yourself?
Gave us her
You're the closest to the table.
We're second to the left.
second
No,
guy.
we're unmuted.
There you go. Sorry.
If you give me your contact information, we'll contact her and let her, work it out.
Okay.
There is another Santa Monica option too, because I have a mail service that I use in Santa Monica.
Okay.
And if she's not going to be home all day or going to be, we could deliver it to my mailbox and she could go there and pick it up.
Okay, great. And how long, after we place an order, say we place one tomorrow morning, when would the delivery be? Would it be the following week or?
Question. If we have the wine in stock, we would deliver it on Friday.
Okay.
We deliver on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we ship every day of the week. So if you ordered it, Thursday and you're living in San Francisco, you probably get it Friday or Saturday, depending on the service we send it by. Sometimes we hold the package until Mondays, just so we don't have them sitting in a facility all weekend. But frankly, at this time of the year, it's okay if it sits in a facility all weekend. It's just during the summer months that you don't want to see that happen. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
My pleasure, guys. And use that discount code. It'll work across on any wine that doesn't have a little markation on it that says no further discount. Bye, Shirley. Thank you.
I just want to thank you. This is the third time we've been to one of these tastings and it's just been delightful. We've learned so much. So
Fine to
really
say
nice.
that. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you both. I love it when people love it. So that's why we do it.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ian.
Guys, I just froze for a second. I'm not sure what's going on with the internet, but I hope everybody had a good listening experience. I got a couple of notes from some people saying that the audio was maybe going in and out a little bit. I hope not.
No.
But it is actually raining again here in our office. So I think this is the end, but I've heard this is the gentle end. It's not the worst part of the storm. So we're going to be okay there.
We're in Northern California, Ian, and so yes, it's ending. We're dry finally.
All right. Well, I was really impressed with the whole table set up there. So
Cheers to everybody.
This is how we roll. We do this once a month where we do a wine get together with sometimes 10 or 12 guys.
oh wow. Well,
Yeah.
it's also kind of cool if you put a female in there.
There's no female.
No.
That's never worked out.
It's never worked out.
It's called a guys group. We a couple of times a year will invite spouses or significant others.
Yeah, because if you bring one girl, you have to bring enough for all, so you
I
have
get
to have 12 girls.
You get in trouble, right? Yeah.
This is at least the third event we've done. We started with the Rhone, Stars of the Rhone a couple of years ago that you did. And then we did Bordeaux or the Heroes of France, I think, last year.
Wow. Well, thank you for keeping us on your keep receiving my emails because I send a lot of them and I apologize, but
You do? I wish I could come down and have some of the dinners occasionally, so I'd love to be able to like be on the Zoom only ones just because the dinners make me jealous.
Well,
We did bring all Italian food tonight.
all right. What do you have a local restaurant you support up there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in San Francisco. Which restaurant which Italian restaurant got your business tonight?
Yeah, we're in the East Bay. So this was from Incontro in Danville. I don't know if you've been in the 680 corridor.
Yep, I've got family in Danville. I love
Oh,
Danville.
okay.
Okay.
Danville, the
Wasn't our
safest
first
city
choice,
in
yeah.
California. We're the safest
Like
city.
10 years in a row, we've been the safest city.
We have.
Very, very nice to know.
And I grew up in East Oakland. I said that to someone
That's
I
not the
met.
safest city.
I said that to someone I met in the winery on Sunday, and they clutched their purse closer. I'm like, no, you're okay. I'm fine.
Safest city compared to what? That's what we're probably all
It's
asking
just-
right
We
now.
don't know.
Yeah, well, the safest city in California. I don't think it's a country, but it's California. So, but yeah, love the wines. Yeah, it was great to have the range between the Rosso and the Reserva and the Brunellos and all the info. And I did miss, but I'm guessing that the recording will be sent or accessible.
Yes. We follow up every event with a thank you, and the recording will be available there. Also, just so you know, we post this usually to Facebook. Facebook threw me a little curveball tonight. I don't know if you noticed, I was kind of hung up on Facebook. I usually post it to my Merchant of Wine website page on Facebook, but that disappeared for some reason tonight.
Oh.
And so I posted it to the learnaboutwine.com Facebook page and then shared it with Merchant of Wine. So it's in both places.
Okay.
And you could watch that immediately. In fact, you'll even see these comments there too.
Well, I'm going to Italy the end of the month, my first time, so I'm looking forward to it.
Beautiful. And we'll make sure you, if you're going to make any wine appointments, they like a lot of advance notice. So
Okay.
maybe you go talk to your hotel and they probably know someone. Like literally there are people in Italy that's what they do.
Okay.
Good idea.
They receive people and you can talk to them about some of your favorites, some things you want to do, and they'll work out a whole program for you. But wineries are not, there are some wineries that are open to the general public, some, Antinori and places like that are large, prestigious, and have like restaurants, and those are cool. But the small guys, they really need
Perfect.
a chaperone to get you in there. So I would work with one of those guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, last week I tried to get into Gaia and they were like, sorry, no.
I will tell you, I take groups. I buy Gaia for my shop. If I go by myself, I might get a tasting appointment. But if I'm taking a group, it is a very expensive visit.
Yeah, they want a donation.
That's what they call it.
It's a donation.
That's because you can't call it anything else.
Interesting.
It's a big number. You're like, what am I buying for that?
Really appreciate the pictures that you added too of each of the properties during
nice.
the presentation things. I have not been to Italy yet, so it's just wonderful to actually see it.
Let me plant a seed. I'm going to in November. We go to Barolo.
Oh,
And we do it during truffle season. So and we're staying in this fantastic little hotel that's family owned. I've been there like 5 times with a group. You will adore this property. The food is, you wake up in the morning and you just smell the baking coming through the floor of your hotel room. Breakfast is included every day, but then we eat out at a different Barolo producers, Shea every day for lunch, and then we explore some of the top restaurants in the Barolo zone. At night, we will see a lot of wineries. We'll cover a lot of ground, do some truffle hunting. It's a lot of fun. I wouldn't do it again and again if I didn't think that it wasn't one of the best things you could possibly do. And you could go and you don't have to. We don't get on electric bikes. We don't do any. We're doing electric bikes in Burgundy, but we drink a lot of really interesting producers when we go to Barolo. And I've been there many times, so like I said, I always want to see somebody new and somebody different. And this year we're working really hard to do that.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Can you reveal the name?
Yeah, so on Thanksgiving, you have Thanksgiving with your family, wake up on Friday and eat leftovers, and then get on a plane on Saturday, and you'll be in Barolo on Sunday, and then we'll go see some
I'm
spectacular.
in, I'm going. I'm
Come with
going
me.
back again.
We go to we'll see places like Sandroni. We'll see potentially. I'm not ruling out Gaia on this trip, but that donation part is huge, so we have to wait till we see how big the group is, and then but we will be going to Barbaresco, and we'll hit some places a little less traveled too. Some of the smaller, older producers, old school producers like Brovia, and then some top restaurants as well. Every day is a culinary journey.
How many people you usually get on these?
We tend to max out around 10, so it's not a
Okay.
big group, but we are
That's a good size.
big enough to sit around a table together and get to know each other, and not so big that I have to babysit.
And you can bring a girl with you on this one, I'm sure.
Yeah,
right?
that's probably a good idea.
So are you full?
We haven't even put it up for sale yet, but
Okay.
it's
Okay.
going up for sale now. You can sign up on the interest list on learnaboutwine.com.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you so much for doing these. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Jim Ramirez, good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Thank you very much for all your help. I can't wait to actually see the repeat because I want to see the comments that were made from the early part of this. So always a great time. I can't wait for the next one.
Well, I'm going to share with you if I can. Can you see my? I won't let you show. Won't let me show my comments. Let me see. I might have to. Okay. Good night, gentlemen.